Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I am streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a good week so far, staying healthy, getting lots of vitamins, staying strong. In this class, we are looking at the speaking section of the IELTS exam, the 12 to 15 minute interview. And we are focusing especially on part one. So the first part of the speaking interview from the 3 parts. Hi, Victor. Hi, Milland. Hi, Jainil. Nice to see many of our members in the class. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Mahbuba. Hi, David. Manpreet. Good to see many of our regular students as well. Welcome, everyone, to today's class. So again, we're focusing on those excellent Band 9 answers. I will be giving you tips, feedback, strategies throughout the lesson, so make sure to follow along. This lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com for academic English help. Visit us there. And for the general IELTS, please visit us at gieltshelp.com. We have some of the best online resources to improve your IELTS band scores on these websites. We're always adding new resources. We are world leaders when it comes to online IELTS education. This is a speaking class, everyone, so make sure to speak and repeat. Repeat questions, answers, copy my pronunciation, copy my intonation, and follow along as best as possible. Again, these classes are recorded, so you can go back to review later on. That's really, really nice with this platform, is that you have a chance to review later. Okay? All right. My sound, Mahbuba, is as loud as usual, so if it's quiet for you, just turn up the volume on your end. It should be nice and loud. Use a headset if it's quiet as well, students. It's definitely a good connection on my end. I can see it in my feedback screen. If anybody has questions about our products or about the IELTS exam, just reach out to me by email to adrian@aehelp.com. I will gladly help you. And just really quickly, I want to show you where you can practice your speaking for free with other IELTS students, and maybe a reminder for some of you to do this. So if you go to our websites, either the academic or the general, this is the academic one here, you can create a premium account by clicking the red button, or you can create a free account by clicking the green button. Once you do that, you will have a My Student account. So when you go in there, and this is why I darken the screen, I know it's darker, it's just so you can see this. You'll have access to all of these great resources. So computer-based practice exams, interactive courses. We have over 40 videos for speaking interviews, sample mock interviews. So lots and lots there. We'll have more than 50 by the end of next week. So 50 sample interviews ranging from band 6.5 all the way to 9. And then here on the right-hand side of the website, we have editing services for writing task 1, writing task 2. And then right underneath that, we have some speaking functions for you. This first one is student partner speaking. So that's where you can click to speak with other students. You have to accept the terms that you will be nice. And then when you go in here, you will see some other users in here as well. So right now you can see me in here. It says master. And then when you have this page open, you'll find other students here searching for speaking partners throughout the day. So make sure to keep this page open, and then make sure to use it. It's absolutely free, so just use it. And the general IELTS is the same, and you can also find questions for the IELTS here about objects, people, places, and so on. So make sure to use it. Okay? All right, everyone. So that's just a useful piece of information for your IELTS learning. Let's get back to today's topics. I'm just going to brighten up our day here. Here we go. Okay. All right. So, and there's lots and lots of IELTS questions there for you. Okay. All right. So let's get into today's lesson. Just before that, the schedule, of course. So today we're doing speaking, and then we'll have classes tomorrow and on Friday. Okay, we'll have lots more speaking on Friday. But no class on Saturday this week. So usually we have a class on Saturday also. This week I'm going to a wedding on the weekend on Saturday, so there will be no class, but I will be back on the 30th on Wednesday with more classes as well. So make sure to take note of that. You can always see our schedule on our YouTube community posts on the channel. Okay? All right, so let's get into it. Usually your speaking interview is a day before or a couple days before your reading, writing, and listening part of the exam. Your speaking interview will be about 12 to 15 minutes, face-to-face, one-on-one with an examiner. And that examiner might have a British accent, an American accent, or they might have a non-English accent, and they're just very high level users of the English language. So be ready to listen to different accents, okay? That's why it's good to listen to different kinds of accents on YouTube and online before you go, so that you can catch the words and the questions, okay? So you get to your speaking interview, make sure to go early, okay? So arrive 1 hour before your interview starts, all right? Find other people to practice with a little bit. Have your mental checklist, okay? So remember that you have to answer, give explanations, give examples. If you're nervous, visualize that the examiner is maybe your grandpa or your grandma, so you speak loud and clear and in full sentences. Okay. All right. And then they will welcome you into the interview room. They will introduce themselves by saying, "Hi, welcome to the speaking section of the IELTS exam. My name is Adrian. I will be your examiner for this part of the test. Please have a seat." Of course, you should say something like, "Thank you. I'm happy to be here," or "I'm excited to be here. I'm a bit nervous to be here." Those are all okay. And then the examiner will just start with some introductions. So they'll say something like, "Can you please introduce yourself? What is your full name?" Okay. Now, answer this question comfortably. What is your full name? Give a clear answer. Sound natural. Okay. Amanjot Kaur says, "My first name is Amanjot and my family name is Kaur. You can call me by my nickname Aman." It's more polite to say, "Please call me by my nickname." You can call me by my nickname. It's okay. It's a little bit impolite for an examiner. Okay. So it's better to say, "Please call me." All right. Carolina says, "My full name is Carolina Asano. As you will see in my passport, please just call me Carolina." That's nice and polite. Fluent Carolina, good. Victor says, "My name is Victor and my surname is Korolenko. Please just call me by my given name, Victor." Nice, Victor. That works. Okay. Abhay says, "My full name is Abhay Nathani, but please just call me by my nickname, which is Abhi." Yeah, Abhay, that works. Okay. So again, lots of ways to answer this. Be fluent, be polite, and introduce yourself. They're matching what you say to your passport. Okay, so definitely give a full fluent answer, all right? So my given names are Richard, David, and my surname is Mackenzie. Please just refer to me as Dave. Okay. So some people have multiple names. This could be one way to express that. Make sure to say it the same way that it's in your passport. So if all three names like this are in the passport, you should say all three of your names. If only two of your names are in the passport, like Richard, Mackenzie, then just say the two names that are in the passport. Okay? So repeat after me. What is your full name? My given names are Richard David, and my surname is Mackenzie. Please just refer to me as Dave. Okay, Dave, very common nickname for David. The next question will always be, may I see your identification? May I see your identification, please? They might ask you that first. They might ask you that second, but they will ask you that. And they're asking for the same identification that you used to register. They have that on their sheet. They need to match up your identification with the ID that they have on file for you. So make sure that you have the same ID. Otherwise, they'll ask you to leave or produce the same ID. Okay. All right. Carolina says, yes, here's my ID that I used to register. Please have a look. Sure. Nice, simple, straightforward, clear, clean. Gets a good band score. Kits Kokaria says, yes, sure. This is my passport, which I used to register. Okay, good, Kit. Little bit of interesting grammar at the end there. Careful. Pooza says, my exam will be on Saturday, 26th of September. Please, God help me. Pooza, yeah, it's okay to send a prayer out. Also, of course, be prepared. So study lots, stay focused on strategies, and presenting good communication, and good luck on your exam on the 26th. I hope you do really well. I'll keep my fingers crossed. All right, Mahbouba Uz says, sir, mostly some IELTS teachers state that the best way to learn to speak fluently first is to learn all speaking book answers and ideas and recite them during classes. Is this really useful? Mahbouba, rote memory, it's an okay way to learn, but it's definitely not the most useful way to learn. Okay, the most advanced education systems in Canada, in the US and Australia move away from rote memory systems. They create what's called problem solving and critical thinking systems that become much more effective in the long run. So the best way to learn to speak is to understand the principles of good communication. So how to produce quality communication, meaning that you're able to answer the exact question that you are being asked. You're able to provide clear explanations with not just qualitative information like big and fast, but also quantitative information like 2 meters tall and 280 kilometers per hour, and provide good examples. So understanding the structure of good communication, Mahbouba, is much more important than just memorizing answers, okay? And then practicing that. Practicing visual communication. Okay, so to the question, may I see your identification? Ois says, absolutely. This is my ID card I used to register here. You may take a look. All right, Ois, depending on intonation, that's good. All right. Okay. Manpreet says, certainly, here's my passport that I used to register for the exam. Please have a look. Yeah, Manpreet, it's used, past tense, right? Because you've already done it. Okay, that I've used. You can even use present perfect for that as well. All right. Okay, sure. So may I see your identification? Yes, of course. Here's my ID that I've used to register for the exam. Please take a look. All right, and then pass them that ID. Okay, now they will ask you a few more questions. If you're sounding really fluent, they might just ask you to introduce yourself in a few words. They might say, please introduce yourself in a few words, and then you might want to talk about where you live, some of your hobbies, whether you have a family or you're a bachelor, bachelorette, so those kinds of points are good to mention if they ask to introduce yourself, if you have a pet, where you work. Or they might just ask you some questions like, what helps you to relax? Okay, what helps you to relax? So for part one, I will ask you a few more questions to get to know you better and some questions on a general topic. What helps you to relax? Okay, These very common kinds of questions. Amanjot says, well, there are a lot of ways that I can unwind, starting with exercise to sleeping. During the daytime, I usually prefer music to energize myself. Okay, Amanjot, good. I made a couple of slight adjustments to make it more natural. Lydia says, there are several activities that can help me to unwind and boost my confidence. Specifically walking for at least half an hour, as well as doing some yoga meditation. Okay, Lydia, very nice. Yeah, I actually went for a nice run just before this class, and maybe you can hear it in my voice, but I'm definitely feeling quite relaxed right now. Energetic, but relaxed as well. So exercise is a great idea, students, by the way, before your exam as well. Now, I don't mean that the first time you should start running is right before your IELTS speaking exam. That's probably not a good idea. But doing regular exercise can help a lot with your performance on exams, including the IELTS exam. So it helps the brain work better. It helps the mind be more focused. So I highly recommend jogging and swimming as part of your indirect preparation for the IELTS exam. Maksud says, well, if I'm feeling energetic, then light exercise like walking in the fresh air helps me to relieve stress. And if I'm feeling exhausted, then taking a hot Turkish bath helps me to unwind. Very nice, Maksud. I love your use of conditionals. That's great. So you're introducing your complex language structures by using the conditional twice, which is very nice. It's really clear that you're confident with that grammar, and that works, okay? Very good. All right. So Firdavs says, oh, in my case, if I want to unwind, I listen to classical music in the evenings. Aside from this, I do sports to relax, namely yoga and meditation. Yeah, I do yoga as well. I do stretch yoga, which I find really useful. I do that before I run. So absolutely a good idea. Khalsa Kaur says, usually I listen to music when I feel tired because it's the best way to release tension. And other than that, I like reading books or playing games with my friends and siblings. Very nice. Okay, Khalsa, a couple of corrections, but overall very nice. Okay. Mubina says, well, in order to relax, I do several activities, especially listen to music while sleeping and also having a cup of coffee. Interesting. Coffee tends to make people tense usually, but sure, some people maybe will relax over a hot cup of coffee. All right. I know I get really hyper if I drink coffee. If you think I'm hyper in these classes, wait till you see me after a cup of joe. All right. So what helps you to relax? When I feel energetic, I relax by doing some exercise, like half an hour of yoga or a 5-kilometer jog. And if I'm feeling exhausted, I will watch a bit of Netflix, as I did yesterday after a long day at the office. All right, so this is my answer here. Take a look. What helps you to relax? Again, remember to speak and repeat. So repeat the questions and answers, and I'll explain why an answer like this will get you a good band score, okay? So repeat after me. What helps you to relax? When I feel energetic, I relax by doing some exercise, like half an hour of yoga or a 5-kilometer jog. And if I'm feeling exhausted, I will watch a bit of Netflix, as I did yesterday after a long day at the office. Okay, I'm careful not to overspeak. I'm staying nice and fluent. Right away, I'm showing condition, and I'm using the real condition because all of us at some point in the week will feel a bit of stress or tension. So I use the real condition here. When I feel energetic at times. So when I feel energetic, I relax by doing exercise, okay? Like half an hour of yoga. So right away, I'm throwing in that quantitative language, okay? Or a 5-kilometer jog, okay? Some more quantitative language. And if I'm feeling exhausted, I will watch a bit of Netflix, okay? So again, I'm creating a conditional sentence. I'm being very specific, and I'm joining here. I don't say, for example. I just go right into my example, as I did yesterday after a long day at the office. Long day at the office is an idiomatic expression, okay? Spending many hours at the office, long day at the office, okay? A lot of students ask, do I need to use idioms during my speaking to get high band scores? The answer is kind of. You need to use idiomatic language, okay? You don't have to use idiomatic phrases. So you don't have to say, don't throw bricks when you live in a glass house. Okay, that means don't be a hypocrite. You don't have to create these or use these long idiomatic phrases. You can use much shorter phrases, phrasal verbs, okay? You will still be considered as using idiomatic language. So long day at the office would count as idiomatic language. All right? Okay, and then perhaps the examiner will ask you another kind of typical question, like, what is your favorite color? Okay, again, have a good answer for these kinds of everyday questions. Be confident, be fluent. So what is your favorite color? So Seni says, my favorite colors are earth tones, such as khaki, which brighten my eyes, especially for clothing. Yeah, Seni, not a bad idea. Just be really careful with it. We say earth tones, usually like beige, brown, different shades of green, and they're referred to as earth tones. When I was in my high school, that was the most popular color for clothes. So they're called earth tone colors, earth tone, T-O-N-E, okay? My favorite colors are earth tones, such as khaki, which brighten my eyes when I wear khaki pants or beige top, okay, Sunny? Ferdobs says, my number one color is green. Maybe it's related to the surroundings where I live. I live in the countryside where 9 months of the year there's a lot of greenery. Aside from this, the color green helps me to feel calm. Okay, for Dobbs, that's quite a tricky answer as well. Again, students, for these warm-up questions, icebreakers in the interview, don't get too fancy. Okay, be careful. Don't get too fancy. All right? You want to have good, clear, clean answers. All right. Kevin Bowie says, let me see if I can find Kevin again. I usually love Kevin's answers. There's Kevin. Okay, Kevin Bowie says, the color that I love more than any other is white, as it symbolizes innocence and purity. As well, white t-shirts are really versatile. When I have one on, I don't usually have to rack my brain thinking about matching pants. See, that's what I mean. I love Kevin's answers. They're brilliant, fluent, get high band scores. Yeah, why not? White t-shirts. I sure know I have at least 5-6 white t-shirts in my closet, and I love them for that very reason, that they are versatile. They're useful for a lot of different situations, whether underneath a dress shirt or going out to play some sports, or just going out in the hot weather. White t-shirts are versatile. So good answer, Kevin. I like it. Okay. That would be considered a restrictive clause, Kevin. So the color that I love more, okay, instead of which. Because it's a restrictive clause. Victor says, my favorite color is white because it means freedom and luck. And if I look at this color, I feel comfortable and relaxed. Very good. All right. Abhay Nathani says, I like blue, more than any other? You don't have to say color, students, because once you say the color, it's clear that you're talking about the color. So I like blue more than any other color because blue is not only the color of my dog Tom's eyes, but also it's the color of the sky and water and nature. I think this color is very classy, especially royal blue, right? Very nice answer. Okay. Carolina says, I am keen on the color turquoise, not only because I wear at least one item of my outfit every day that's this color, but also I love the gradient of blue colors that the ocean has. When I go to the beach, I take lots of photos as I like this color a lot. Okay, turquoise, very good. Carolina, careful, it's quite complex what you're stating there. Piyush says, well, I love all the light colors. However, I would choose light pink as my favorite because it shows the sign of peace and a little excitement in my mind. Moreover, I have lots of towels in my bedroom that are this color. Okay, Piyush, not bad. Colors in English, of course, other languages as well, are often divided into hot colors and cold colors. Hot colors include yellow, orange, red. Cold colors will have blue, green, okay? So some people like warm or hot colors and other people like cold or cool colors. Okay, keep that in mind as well. All right. I love the color blue as it signifies life and prosperity. It is the color of water and the sky, as well as my wife's beautiful eyes. At least half of the clothing in my closet has some blue in it. All right. So here's my answer. What is your favorite color? I love the color blue as it signifies life and prosperity. It is the color of water and the sky, as well as my wife's and daughter's beautiful eyes. At least half of the clothing in my closet has some blue in it. All right, so that's my answer. It's original. I'm not actually sure if blue signifies prosperity. I think that might be gold or yellow, but IELTS examiners aren't going to check whether you're speaking the truth or not. As long as it's believable and you're staying fluent, good on you. You'll get band scores, okay? All right. Then the examiner will continue with the topic of part 1. Let's talk about city and town life. Now, as soon as you hear the topic of part 1 being introduced, you should immediately think of some ideas. And when you have this kind of introduction like city and town, and these are popular part 1s where they kind of give you this contrasting topic, okay? So let's talk about paper and the computer, okay? Or let's talk about fruits and vegetables, or let's talk about meat and vegetables, or something like that. So right away you want to think of the contrast. So when you think of city and town life, what kind of ideas come to mind? So what do you think about when you hear these two words presented next to each other? Okay. So Maksud says vibrant, metropolitan city. Okay. Lepay says job opportunities. Amanjat says more health, facilities, opportunities, good salaries. Ahmed Ghali says hustle and bustle. It's a nice expression. Ferdov says overpopulation. Ahmed says tranquility. Tranquility for towns, obviously. Manpreet says education system. Prashant says polluted versus clean air, not pure air, clean air. Okay, Prashant. So polluted versus clean air. It's very good. Nirmal Patel says handsome guys. Okay. Raghav says serenity. Simran says transportation and infrastructure. Seni says skyscrapers. Maybe you can think of farms. Good. So those are all the words coming to mind. Fantastic. So that's what should happen when the topics are being introduced. You should have a lot of these kind of ideas flashing in your mind. And these contrasts, right? So crowded, peaceful, loud, quiet, okay? Infrastructure, lack of infrastructure. So these kinds of contrasts, absolutely, okay? So let's go to the first question. Here we go. Why do people like living in cities? Give me a nice full sentence answer for that one. So why do people like living in cities? An says, well, I think people love residing in cities mostly because it's easy access for job opportunities and entertainment. Not only do these factors bring people income, but also satisfaction. An, good. Can you throw an example in there, An? I think you might be able to. It's fairly straightforward, I think, some ideas there. Ois says, most individuals prefer living in cities for many reasons, because there are big universities and theaters, and they can get a chance to watch movies at cinemas and try different foods in restaurants. Sure, Ois, if you live in a big city, you can maybe say, that's why I live in the heart of, and then say the city, and say, I like going to a different restaurant every Saturday. Sure. Ayushi says, being in 2020 and belonging to a city, I feel cities are more fast-paced and the growth rate is high compared to towns, which are upcoming and growing. But comparatively, they are cleaner. Okay, Ayushi, make sure you're answering the question. Why do people like living in cities? This question will only come after you answer this one. They won't ask you both. Not in part 1. In part 3, they might throw 2 questions into one, but not for part 1. Here they will keep them separate. Okay? All right? So here you have to answer, why do people like living in cities? Okay? All right. Niha says, well, mostly people adore living in cities because there are more amenities available rather than the countryside, like schools, hospitals, and more. Not with amenities, Niha, we actually mentioned the location rather than the construct. So you're saying education, health, but instead you should say schools and hospitals. Okay, everybody catch that? So when you say amenities, then you should mention the physical amenity. Okay, it's a physical noun. So you shouldn't say education, but you should say school. You shouldn't say health, but you should say hospital. All right. So with amenities, like the amenities in a hotel include a swimming pool, a bar, a meeting room, and a games room. Okay. So you mentioned the actual amenities. All right. So why do people like living in cities? Here you can use one of these popular catchwords. There are a plethora of reasons that people enjoy residing in cities. Much of it has to do with the convenience of amenities such as stores, schools, theaters, and hospitals. Aside from these, cities offer many opportunities for jobs and social circles. I live in the city of Budapest, and I have at least a dozen friends, all within walking distance of my home. All right. So here we go. Somebody sent me an email the other day and asked me if it's weak to start a sentence with there. No, it's totally okay. I'm not sure where that student got it from. I think they said that their teacher said it's weak to start with there. That's absurd. There's no such rule as you shouldn't start a sentence with there because it's weak, okay? So it's totally fine. If anybody else had that question. Here we go. Repeat after me. Why do people like living in cities? There's a plethora of reasons that people enjoy residing in cities. Much of it has to do with the convenience of amenities such as stores, schools, theaters, and hospitals. Aside from these, cities offer many opportunities for jobs and social circles. I live in the city of Budapest, and I have at least a dozen friends, all within walking distance of my home. Natural, fluent, clear, complex. Answer, explanation, example. You're getting points. Okay, let's keep moving. How about towns? So if they've asked you, why do people enjoy living in cities? Now they're asking, how about towns? This means, as a full question, why do people enjoy living in towns? Okay. So give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. Roshni says, well, folks prefer to reside in the countryside because it's not only less chaotic, but also the beautiful scenic places which provide peace. Just the other day, I experienced a spectacular view while sitting on my porch. Okay, Roshni, nice. That works. All right. Good. Well done. And I can see that many of you are realizing now that you need to basically say as much as you can fit into one comment. Okay? All right. Ayushi says, in town life, people are more laid back, but it's hard to meet the expenses as the source of income is limited. Ayushi, don't go off topic. How about towns means why do people like living in towns, not why do people not like living in towns. So even if you might have an opinion, don't express that. Keep it to yourself. Answer the question only. That's really important, okay? So really important. All right. Here we go. So, Ash Usden says, towns are more relaxing places than cities. There's absolutely less air and noise pollution. Also, people can have a chance to enjoy nature and grow their own vegetables. Ashley Usden, very nice. I like the answer. Say it fluently with the intonation that I just used, okay? All right. Nick Hill says, well, from my perspective, people adore to reside in towns that have clean air and pleasant environment as well. So sometimes I visit my town to enjoy a vacation. Very nice. I like, Nick Hill, how you flowed into that example. Very good. I cannot read the Korean name, but I can read the comment. There are a plethora of reasons that people enjoy dwelling in the countryside. For example, they can take in the fresh air and the picturesque landscape, which helps them not only improve their health, but also their mood. Okay, you don't need to say for example. It's more of an explanation than an example anyway. Try to stay away, students, from words like for example and for instance. Those words unfortunately scare the examiners because when candidates use them, some candidates really start talking about the birds and the moon and the sky and the tigers and everything in between. So examiners will often interrupt candidates when they start saying, for example, especially if the student is stalling, like, for example, and then the student's stalling for some ideas, and the examiner will just go to the next question. Okay, so careful with that. How about towns? Well, in contrast to metropolitan life, the countryside offers peace and quiet. The air quality tends to be much better, and of course, there's a lot more nature to enjoy. Usually, life is much slower paced, and many people prefer this to the rat race of cities. For these reasons, I love to visit my relatives living in small towns around Hungary. All right, there we go. So, repeat after me. How about towns? Well, in contrast to metropolitan life, the countryside offers peace and quiet. The air quality tends to be much better, and of course, there's a lot more nature to enjoy. Usually, life is much slower paced, and many people prefer this to the rat race of cities. For these reasons, I love to visit my relatives living in small towns around Hungary. All right, so that's a Band 9 answer. Again, I'm giving you fast, fluent English that's natural, and I'm including some idioms as well. Anybody catch the idiom in this response? So notice how I'm not saying any kind of idiomatic phrase, but I'm including idiomatic language. Anybody catch what that was? Yeah, rat race, exactly. It's kind of an ugly idiom, but definitely I think most people will agree that it makes sense. So the rat race, yeah, rat race means that we're all kind of trying to get ahead in life and climb on top of the hill, become the best, the wealthiest, and all of that jazz. So that is the rat race of humanity. Okay, next question. Do you prefer living in a city or countryside, and why? Okay, so the question comes back to you now from the examiners. So they've asked what's better about the city, what's better about the town. Now they'll ask you, hey, what do you like? Which do you prefer? So you can refer to your previous answers and give some more details. Maksud says, well, it's a difficult question, but if I had to answer, I would prefer to reside in the heart of the city, as it offers not only major cinemas, which I love to visit after a stressful day, but also top universities. And currently, I'm at the phase in my life where I'm studying for my profession, which is to become an engineer. Okay, Maksud, so kind of maybe finish that idea. All right, Samuel says, I prefer living in cities as I like the fast-paced nature of these metropolitan places, and in the process interacting with people working in different fields. Additionally, I love eating food from different cultures. So I love eating different cuisines from around the world. Samuel, it's more specific, different cuisines from around the world. All right, Victor says, I love to live in cities because of the conveniences such as modern transportation systems and education. In the city, I don't have problems related to finding a job. Victor, don't use for instance or for example. It's unnecessary. Okay? You can, and in the real world we do, but in the IELTS, again, it scares the examiners, so you don't need to use them. It's unnecessary language. Pandya Viren says, I prefer to live in the city. If I'm working in the city, I can leave to the countryside as well because it will be hard to manage, but it's worth it. Okay, Pandya, it's a little bit of a confusing answer. You might want to rethink that. Okay. Carolina says, I'd rather live in a city than the countryside because, as I had just mentioned, living in big cities is more beneficial for job opportunities. And I'm currently working in a multinational company since last year, and this wouldn't be possible if I'd be living in the countryside. Yeah, Carolina, perhaps true, but with COVID, many people are working from home, and a lot of people have moved to the countryside and are working at big companies from their countryside homes. I think the price of real estate in cities will go down for these reasons in the not so distant future. Kawal says, at the moment, I'm living in a rural area, so I completely understand the disadvantages, and I prefer to live in a city. Right now, okay, and then you've repeated that 3 times. Students, please only type your answers once, okay? Don't spam the chat, okay? Manashi says, although living in a city could be beneficial in many ways, small villages and towns are calm and tranquil, and there's almost no pollution or traffic. Okay, so Manashi, we already had that answer, that question previously. So here, the subject is you. So you have to answer you. Even though countryside life is enticing, I prefer to live in a large city simply for the reasons that I had stated before. I'm an outgoing person, so I like to meet with a variety of friends throughout the week and enjoy different venues. Last week, I went to an Italian and Japanese restaurant and the cinema, all within 1 kilometer of my home. All right. So here's my answer. Repeat after me. Do you prefer living in a city or countryside? Why? Even though countryside life is enticing, I prefer to live in a large city simply for the reasons that I had mentioned or stated before. I'm an outgoing person, so I like to meet with a variety of friends throughout the week and enjoy different venues. Last week, I went to an Italian and Japanese restaurant and the cinema, all within 1 kilometer of my home. Again, lots of details, connecting with other answers in the communication, natural and original, good fluency, staying on topic and staying specific to the question. That's what you have to do to get those high band scores. Okay, so keep practicing this kind of language. Okay, next question. Let's keep rolling here a little bit. What are common kinds of buildings in big cities? Give me a nice fluent answer for this one. So what are common kinds of buildings in big cities? All right. Amanjot says, well, in cities there are huge and beautiful buildings that are just eye-catching. These large infrastructures attract consumers. Okay. All right. It's not bad But again, you are kind of going off topic, Amanjot. So stick to the cities, what they look like, okay? Or sorry, stick to the buildings. So describing the buildings. Naragopi says, if I had to say, I would say cities have job opportunities and better healthcare services. Okay, Naragopi, I think you're answering a different question and you're off topic for that question. So stay on topic. Okay, Prathiba says there's more modern infrastructure in cities. There are a plethora of buildings like malls, hospitals, schools, where I often go. Also, these are eye-catching. Okay. Kinds of buildings. Sure, hospitals, schools are okay. Oa says most buildings in cities are made of concrete and steel and are 4 stories or more. Some buildings have even more, 15 floors, either in towns or each family has a single house or relatively. Ty says skyscrapers. Ty, put that into a sentence so I can give you some more band scores. Okay. All right. Kevin says typical architectural style of buildings in metropolises involve high-rise buildings and skyscrapers, or sometimes super slim buildings due to the imbalance of land ownership. Although this might create a sense of diversity, some areas look incoherent, like the southern part of downtown Hanoi. Super nice answer, Kevin. I love the fluency. I love the use of the word architectural style. Okay, it's a little bit wordy, Kevin. You could just say architecture, but I like it. Okay. Lydia says the most common types of buildings in cities are residential buildings, educational buildings such as schools and universities. Importantly, institutional buildings like hospitals and healthcare centers. Yeah, the most frequently visible, let's use it, architecture in downtown areas of cities are high-rise buildings and skyscrapers made of concrete, steel, and glass. Many of these are either businesses, office buildings, or residential apartments. Moving towards the outskirts or suburban areas of the city, family homes become more commonplace. Okay. All right. So here we go. Repeat after me. What are common kinds of buildings in big cities? The most frequently visible architecture in downtown areas of cities are high-rise buildings and skyscrapers made of concrete, steel, and glass. Many of these are either businesses, office buildings, or residential apartments. Moving towards the outskirts or suburban areas of the city, family homes become much more commonplace. All right, so in this response, I'm also teaching you some vocabulary, okay? So architecture, that's a good paraphrase for the types of buildings, okay? High-rise buildings and skyscrapers are common in downtown areas of many large cities, and they're made of concrete, steel, and glass, okay? Many of these are either, using a correlative conjunction, businesses, office buildings, or residential apartments. Moving towards the outskirts or suburban areas of the city, family homes become more commonplace. What type of language am I really focusing on in this answer as well? So in this response, what are you able to do when you listen to my answer? What do I enable you, the audience, to do? Okay, so what am I focusing on as I give this answer? Carolina says vocabulary, partly Carolina, right? I go from the center of this city to the outskirts of the city. That's right, Alex. Yeah, visualizing it so you can see it, right? You can see the center of the city, which are these high buildings made of glass and concrete, and then we can move to the outskirts or the suburban areas of the city. So there's a very visual description, absolutely. Okay, good. All right, let's go to the next question. How about towns? So what are the most common types of buildings that you see in towns? Okay, give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. Ayushi says in towns we can usually find barns and large fields of crops, soft roof houses made of wood with big surroundings, and mostly for animals such as cattle or horses. Okay, Ayushi, good. Now, keep in mind, Ayushi, we're talking about the buildings. So barns, farms, A-framed houses, those are okay. Careful not to talk too much about animals and so on because those aren't buildings. Okay, Amanjad says, well, in towns, big houses along with less puka infrastructure are found. Usually the houses are kucha houses, but nowadays the condition is improving and people are preferring, okay, Amanjad, stay on topic. Okay, some more answers. Samuel says, typical architecture in towns involves family homes, barns, and pubs for people to hang out. The houses are built to interact with nature and enjoy everyday living. Okay, Samuel, good. I made a couple of slight adjustments there. Sure. Oh, it says people living in towns live in big houses. There are long distances between each house. They're usually made of wood and cement. I live in a small town with in a big wooden home with a concrete basement. Very good. Okay. All right. So towns tend to have lots of large homes and farms with barns and other utility buildings to store work vehicles like trucks, as well as some community buildings like a town hall, school, and library. Okay, so here we go. Repeat after me. How about towns? Towns tend to have lots of large homes and farms with barns and other utility buildings to store work vehicles like trucks, as well as some community buildings like a town hall, school, and library. Okay, students, couple more questions here that you can try on your own. If you could live in any city, where would you live? Has city life changed much in the past 20 years? How about town? So there are a couple of challenging questions for you to try in partners or on your own. And if you'd like to get access to all of our HD videos, we have over 40 speaking interview examples, mock interviews with students from around the world. You can check us out at aehelp.com for academic IELTS and glshelp.com for general IELTS. That's it for me for today. I will be back tomorrow with 2 more live classes, one for members that, of course, everybody can watch, and another all chat class. Have a fantastic rest of your day. If it's late in your country, sweet dreams to you. Much love to everyone. I'm Adrian, signing out from Budapest. Bye for now.